America's Voice family.
Are you on Getter yet? No?
What are you waiting for?
It's free.
It's uncensored.
And it's where all the biggest voices in conservative media are speaking out.
Download the Getter app right now. This is America's Voice Live.
And welcome to America's Voice Live. I'm Steve Gerber.
The pulse of the people.
We need somebody that's going to hear the people's voice.
The truth the mainstream won't touch.
This guy is by definition a globalist.
And the stories that matter.
Rav's own Ben Berquam.
Right up over this hill. We got armed cartel. I see him.
Live.
Breaking news right now here on Real America's Voice.
Unfiltered.
These people are domestic terrorists.
And unapologetic.
We're here to take a stand for God and country. Does feel good, doesn't it?
America's Voice Live starts now.
Welcome to America's Voice Live. I'm Steve Gerber. It is Monday, the 30th of June. Let's get to the day's top stories. And as always, thank you for spending part of your day with us here at Real America's Voice. We truly appreciate your support. The Supreme Court delivered a massive victory to the Trump administration Friday after limiting injunctions imposed by radical district court judges that try to halt the Trump administration at every turn from doing what the American people voted for. More on that today. A lot more. Also, Caroline Leavitt held a press briefing in the East Room of the White House earlier today, right before President Trump signed an executive order easing sanctions on Syria. I'll bring on our chief White House correspondent for more details on that as well. And then later, the Senate parliamentarian announced that a moratorium on state-level AI regulations could remain in the big, beautiful bill, putting a one-year freeze on state-level AI laws, thus allowing a fighting chance for small business. All the details and updates coming your way. First, I want to get to the bill currently with the Senate, the big, beautiful bill, of course. President Trump calls it the big, beautiful bill. And critics like Elon Musk call it something different. They call it a nightmare. But the legislation, or whatever it is left of it, is crawling through the Senate. And the sad thing is, no matter what side you find yourself on, we have crossed $37 trillion of federal debt. And this legislation apparently does little or nothing to turn it around. The bill still has a long way to go, but it cleared a key hurdle over the weekend. After Chuck Schumer, the Democrat minority leader, forced the entire bill to be read out loud, which took something like 16 hours to complete for nobody to listen to because they didn't. It was just a stall tactic. But beyond the theatrics, it did get through 51-49 on the procedural vote. Doesn't mean the bill passed, means that they can go on to the next step. Today, I want you to hear from as many voices as possible, the sensible, the screwballs, and I guess some sober comments as well. And concerning the scare tactics of the Democrats, Congresswoman Mary Miller says the Democrats' scare tactics are only that, just that, nothing more. And Republicans are protecting Americans, in her opinion. Here's what she said.
Whenever Republicans try to take necessary steps to preserve these essential programs to meet the needs of the most vulnerable Americans, the Democrats start playing their broken record that we're going to starve babies, children, pregnant women, that we're going to throw people off Social Security, Medicaid. No, we want to cut waste, fraud, and abuse. We want people that are ineligible for these programs to be removed. And we are taking the necessary steps to preserve these programs so they're available for the people that need them, the most vulnerable Americans.
Yeah. Well, there are those in the Senate, like spokeswoman Congresswoman Miller there, who like this bill. She's from Central Illinois, pretty conservative area. But there are others from the House Freedom Caucus who say it's too much money, and still Republicans in the Senate, same thing. It's too much. In the Senate, there is an outspoken supporter of President Trump, many, in fact. He says this is in the bag. Senator Markwayne Mullen of Oklahoma says the big, beautiful bill is going through, despite the criticisms. Here he is.
The hardest part was getting on the bill. What we mean by getting on the bill is once we pass the House version, which is what we passed last night, then we put our amendments on it and we go into debate. Although right now there's a stall tactic, obviously, by the Democrats. They're making them read page by page, which I think is great. I hope the American people pay attention to it. I hope the Democrats pay attention to it, because it's going to be very hard for them to argue about what this actually does. This cuts spending. It's the largest deficit cut by any Congress ever in history. It makes tax cuts permanent, which instead of taxes going up January 1st by $4 trillion, it actually restores the tax cuts, and it's going to, the average household of four is going to bring home pay over $10,000 more a year this year than they did last year. So that is great. I hope the Democrats pay attention to it and realize we're delivering for the American people. But once that happens, we go into a 20-hour debate. Then we're going to do the vote-a-rama, and we're going to pass this bill, and we're very confident we have the votes to do that.
Vote-a-rama. But how much of the bill was left on the floor parliamentarian? That's the real question, Mark Wayne. How much of this bill is left? And how much does this bill actually spend? You $37 trillion of debt. And some fiscal hawks say this is just going to continue the spending spree, taking us to 40 trillion, then 45, and then 50. What is the point of no return when it comes to spending? That's the concern for many people. But the left, they'll not let this go easily either. They want to scream from the mountaintops that we lose everything. It's dishonest. It is. The left knows no bounds, and they keep trying the scare tactics. Here's Amy Klobuchar, senator of Minnesota, spreading fear far and wide. Listen.
What does this bill do? It kicks 16 million people off their health care. 16 million people off their health care. In order to finance tax cuts for the wealthiest, in order to give multimillionaires a $400,000 tax cut, that doesn't make the world a better place. Adding $4 trillion in debt, $1 trillion of it is interest, which is going to make mortgage rates go up. It's going to make harder for young people to be able to maybe get their first house or pay their rent. It's putting it on their backs. It's putting it on their shoulders. That's why I don't see this as a big, beautiful bill. I see this as a big, beautiful betrayal of the hardworking people of this country.
Yeah. You see, it's all fear. They're going to take this, they're going to take that. Well, look. We have to pare back spending somewhere. I'm not saying those are the columns, but good grief, folks. We can't spend on infinitum forever. We've already bankrupted the country. We really have. $37 trillion in debt is being bankrupt by definition. Meanwhile, Chuck Schumer is pushing a laughable new lie that the one big beautiful bill surrenders American energy independence to the Chinese, which is completely false, of course, but see for yourself.
If you wanted to write a law that surrenders American independence and energy independence to the Chinese Communist Party and to the Chinese government, this is it. Look no further than this bill. China's gaining in solar, wants to dominate. If we cut off all solar production, China will dominate, and our children and grandchildren, and even many of us, will be at China's whim. China will have a grip on our energy policy. It will be outrageous.
Really, Chuck? Really, Chuck? Explain this to me. China has what? 4 times as many people as the United States. 4 times. They're building a brand new coal-fired power plant every 4 days. That's right, more than one a week. A brand new coal-fired power plant China's building. India's doing the same. They both have 1 billion people or more. So they're both many times larger than America. But you think the answer is for us to buy Chinese solar panels? Please. Adam Schiff. One guy who gets it wrong every time, Adam Schiff is the guy. He calls it the big awful bill and claims that it takes money from kids right out of their mouths, takes food out of their mouths, and for grandkids, takes shoes off their feet, just for tax cuts on the wealthy. Look at this.
We just left the Senate floor speaking against this big awful bill. And it breaks my heart to see what they're doing with this. When I think about the sacrifices of generations that went before, so that my generation could enjoy a better quality of life than my parents or their parents. And this bill taking money from our kids and grandkids to pay for tax cuts for really wealthy people, to cut health care out from those who can least afford access to care, to literally take food away from people by savaging the Food and Nutrition Program. If our parents' generation was the greatest generation, then this is certainly the most selfish generation. I want nothing to do with that. I hope we defeat this bill. I hope we instead move this country in a completely different direction, where we're building more housing and bringing down its costs, where we're opening new hospitals, not shutting them down, where we're welcoming new citizens and not attacking those that come here for a better way of life. None of that should be beyond the capacity of this incredible country. But this is not the way. This is not the way.
So he snuck it in there. There was just a little sliver of truth in there. He wants illegals funded fully. He wants the borders to be open. He wants Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid, and SNAP benefits for illegals. This bill takes much of that away. If you're not a legal citizen, you don't get the benefit of government-subsidized health care or food or anything else. Of course, common sense, of which Adam has none. Meanwhile, freshman Senator Tim Sheehy of Montana says the bill does a lot of good. May not be perfect, but does a lot of good. Here he is.
We also have a border crisis, which has largely been solved, but now we still have issues remaining from that we want to make sure we can have enough agents doing national enforcement. We want to make sure we can complete the border wall. That issue is not just going away. We've solved it for now, but that can return later. We also have certainty for our business environment that we want to provide a tax rubric that is certain and predictable. The Tax Cuts and Jobs Act of 2017 is going to be made permanent with this bill. The sooner we can give certainty to our business environment, to our investment ecosystem, the sooner we're going to see a lot of that investment come back. We've already seen tremendous investment that the president's brought back, but a predictable tax regime is key for long-term investment in this country. Things like equipment expensing, R&D expensing, no tax on tips. A lot of these policies are very focused on specific sectors of our population, our economy, and make sure we're unleashing working class job growth and also small business growth. The sooner we do that, the better it is for the economy.
Yeah. And one last voice here. President Trump going to bat for the big, beautiful bill and its provisions, hoping that it goes through. Here he is.
Look, it's a great bill. It's a massive tax cut. If it's not approved, your taxes will go up by 68%. Think of that, 68, a record, the highest in the history. The Democrats won't approve it only because politically it's so good for the Republicans. The Democrats aren't approving it. But think of what they're not approving. They're not approving border security. We've done a great job at the border, but we have to add some wall. We have to do, various things. We have no money for that. We have no money for the border. We have no money for so many things. But if the Democrats, and it'll be interesting to see if we get any Democrat votes. We should. If I were a Democrat, I would absolutely, maybe Fetterman, because he seems to be the most sensible one lately. If I were a Democrat, I would vote for this bill all day long because it's tax cuts and so many other things that are common sense. They're basic things. I think they're doing fine.
All right. Well, the fact of the matter is that President Trump, as well as Speaker Mike Johnson, both wanted this bill to be on the president's desk by the 4th of July, which happens to be Friday. Love to see if that goal becomes a reality. We'll also keep you updated in the meantime. We'll see if they get it across the finish line, and then we'll find out the truth about the bill. Coming up after the break, the Supreme Court delivered a massive victory to the Trump administration. In fact, more than one on Friday after limiting injunctions imposed by radical district court judges. I'll discuss the victory next, along with the big, beautiful bill. Stay tuned.
keeping our promise to America's veterans.
My life.
My life.
My life was changed forever.
Your call means more than you can imagine to a veteran who has proudly served us and our country.
When you donate to DAV, you're helping disabled veterans. Thank you, and God bless you.
Please call or go online to helpdav.org right now. Your support in this moment honors our veterans' service and shows your commitment to them today and into the future.
The bathroom of your dreams is only a phone call away with BCI Bath and Shower. We can make your ordinary bath and shower extraordinary. This is not a cookie cutter design. This is a complete custom build that will fit your every need, and discounts for seniors and military.
All right, back to it. 4 o'clock Eastern Time, President Trump scheduled to host an event at the White House where he is expected to pressure Republican holdouts to get behind the big, beautiful bill. President Trump has stated that he is pushing for the deadline of July the 4th to get this bill passed. Joining me now to discuss this is Brian Glenn at the White House. Brian, nice to see you today there from the North Lawn. Look, we got some problems here. We're going to get to what Caroline was talking about earlier, but let's start with this. The parliamentarian. The parliamentarian is the ghost of Harry Reid right now. It's like the ghost of socialists past. We've got to get this solved, and John Thune needs to do something about this. Say a lot of Republicans. What do you think is going to happen with that? She's blocking and gutting the big bill.
She is. She's getting a lot of pressure. And I would imagine in about 45 minutes, which, by the way, is right over my left, your right, in that room, in the East Room, President Trump will address congressional leaders and other lawmakers here about getting this bill passed. And I tell you, if she is remaining taking a different approach to what Senate Republicans, MAGA Republicans want, we could have a kind of a showdown here. Now, if timing is perfect on this, we would see this basically get cleared out of the Senate by tomorrow, and then putting it back in rules actually on Monday in Congress. And so we would probably get a vote, hopefully the early part of next week, if not on Monday, if they just called for votes. But of course, next week, though, Steve, is a recess week in Congress. So members weren't planning to come back, but President Trump putting out a truth a little bit earlier and said, guess what, everybody, no vacations for you. We're going to work on this and get it done.
I think that's right. I think that's what the American people would think. We don't get to go on vacation every other week. Well, on Friday, the Supreme Court delivered a massive victory to the Trump administration and to the Republican world, the conservative world, to the MAGA world. Since the beginning of the second administration here of Trump, liberal activist judges have been playing God, plaguing his administration with injunction after injunction nationwide, rulings against deportation efforts, birthright citizenship, women's rights as it pertains to private places and sports. I've said it before and I'll say it again. These judges are not elected officials. Most of them were appointed by either the Obama or Biden administration. They have no authority of the President of the United States. An elected official, 77.5 million votes, of course. Here with me now to discuss this, former Congressman and Executive Director at the American Constitutional Rights Union, Lieutenant Colonel Alan West. Colonel, thank you for being here.
Always a pleasure. Thanks for having me, and happy Independence Week to you, Steve.
Well, it's going to be a good week. You'll be on with me this coming Friday when we do the 4th of July show. I look forward to that. Look, these judges have been exposed. No more than Ketanji Brown Jackson, Jackson Brown, revealed for being a complete fraud, doesn't care about the Constitution. Amy Coney Barrett called her out in such a brutal way, basically said her arguments are so bizarre, weak, and wrong, we're not even going to waste our time talking about it. 6 justices signed that from Amy Coney Barrett. It's an indictment of the entire liberal justice system when it comes to these activist judges, isn't it?
No, you're absolutely right. And you have to be foolhardy to believe that the leftist judges do care about the Constitution, that they do care about the rule of law, because where were they when Joe Biden was violating the Constitution with open borders agenda, which is completely against Article 4, Section 4 of the Constitution, the guarantee clause? They didn't say anything when Joe Biden decided that he would go against the Supreme Court ruling and say that he could go out and relieve college student loan debt, something that even Nancy Pelosi said that he did not have the constitutional powers under Article 2 to do that. So what you have seen happen is that we have these lower court judges, these district judges, which were created by the legislative branch, by Congress. The only court that Article 3 talks about, and the only court that the Constitution creates, is the Supreme Court. And I think Chief Justice Roberts realized that these guys are getting way outside of their lanes, and it was an indictment over the entire judicial system if he did not correct them and get them back to understanding their jurisdiction and their purview.
Well, do you think, he is somebody, Judge Roberts, Chief Justice Roberts, who keeps an eye on his legacy. We know that based on his behavior. He keeps an eye on the headlines. Sometimes he gets right over into the political, ecosystem. So what do you think he thinks about this? About Jackson Brown. I keep getting her name back. Whatever. What do you think he thinks about her?
Well, I don't think he can do anything about it. He can't remove her, of course, but I think that without a doubt, probably going into his chambers or maybe at his house, scratching his head and say, how did we allow this? How could a person like this, so totally unqualified, find herself on the Supreme Court? But this is not about qualifications for the left. This is all about one thing. Are you a person that will help us to advance our ideological agenda? And realize that even Elena Kagan, who is a Supreme Court justice now, but back when she was not a Supreme Court justice, she spoke out against this judicial shopping, going around looking for district court judges who could make, injunctions against Article 2 executive power authority. So she even knows that. But yet, when it comes time for, are you going to be a judicial activist? Or are you going to rule, interpret the law? She chose, I'm going to be a judicial activist.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to figure out. I think we need to take a moment here. Colonel, I apologize for it, but apparently the president's going to come back to the Oval Office, look at some more executive orders. I appreciate your help, as always, and your patience here today. Colonel, thank you so much.
Always the best. God bless.
All right. I'd like to jump over to Brian Glenn. He is at the White House, at the Oval Office, I'm told. There's going to be some important documents being signed over there. Brian, good afternoon as you jump in here on short notice. What is on the plate today?
Well, President Trump is going to be signing an executive order basically removing the sanctions against Syria that were placed on that country now that they're in this transitional government. He wants to lift those sanctions to give them a little bit better opportunity for prosperity, economic development, but maintaining a close watch on their human rights and obviously eliminating any of their ties to terrorism and just basically trying to get along with everybody. Steve, be the good guys on the block, but that's taking place here right behind me like any moment now. We've been told that was close press, so we'll see if that opens up here shortly. But that comes after, Steve, a press briefing with Carolyn Leavitt in the briefing room. And the tariffs, or I should say the Senate, the big, beautiful bill in the Senate pretty much dominated the entire press conference.
Yeah, I'm guessing it did. But let me take a moment to talk about what's going on with Syria here, because I want to talk about Donald Trump's efforts of bringing peace to the world. Over the weekend, a lot of people may have missed this, but the Trump administration was able to sit down with Rwanda and Congo. They've been at war for 30 years. 30 years they've been at war. Able to get a peace agreement signed. This comes after, getting the Indian and Pakistani armies to stand down. This comes after getting Israel and Iran to stand down. This is after all the efforts in Ukraine to get Ukraine and Russia to hopefully stand down. Hasn't happened yet. But it's one peace initiative after another for this president. And I think that cannot be we have to look at that. It can't be overstated how important that is, Brian.
It is. And this is coming from a guy, Steve, that was told was going to get us into, World War III. He was going to cause nuclear chaos. He was going to call North Korea to shoot a missile at us. I mean, this is coming off the pretense of that the adults, Steve, were in charge of the White House, and President Trump would cause chaos, but it's been the exact opposite. President Trump will go down as the peacemaker in our modern, political era, when there's no doubt. Now, Steve, since you're in Michigan, maybe he can establish peace between Ohio State and Michigan. Maybe when they meet up in the big house,
He may be a peace president. He's not a miracle worker, all right? I mean, he's a peace president, not a miracle worker. I'll just tell you that.
You get a kick out of that.
All right, let's talk about another casualty of the Trump administration, Tom Tillis. Announcing from North Carolina, he's not running for re-election. What many people would refer to as a rhino senator. He comes out against the big, beautiful bill. You're telling us that Caroline was talking about that almost exclusively in the press briefing. Tom Tillis comes out against it basically in the same speech and says, oh, and by the way, I'm not running for re-election, which is probably best for him. I don't think he would have stood much of a chance. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I agree. I think he took the pulse in the room. He probably already had aspirations to do that anyway. A lot of these guys can make way more money working for a special interest group or a lobbyist and just get outside of Washington, because the tide has turned here within the Republican Party. So people like Don Bacon, you could throw him in there as well. Ones that were just never Trumpers from day one. And that is, even go back in 2016, those that were in the administration 2016, or at least in Congress and Senate, they were against them then, they're against them now. They know that the policies are gaining momentum with the American people, and that's what they expect out of their leaders. So if any one of these rhinos decide that they don't want to vote against what the party and what the people put in process, then they need to step aside. I mean, Steve, if you were to run for office, and I was to run for office, and the people in the whatever district, name your state, if they elect you for this policy because of this is what they stand for, then that's your job, to represent the people, not your own personal ideology. No, it's your people. And these people aren't willing to vote in office to what the people of their districts want, then they need to step aside. Maybe 7-Eleven or maybe McDonald's or Wendy's or any one of these fast food restaurants will take their resume and hire them, because right now they're not qualified to be in the office that they have now.
Well, I will say this. Don Bacon is a complicated individual from a complicated district that's a pro-Biden, pro-Kamala Harris district there in Omaha, Nebraska. The chances are that'll become a Democrat seat. Very good chance with him not there. But Tom Tillis, I think North Carolina puts another Republican in there, a conservative Republican, into his seat. I think North Carolina is following the lead of Iowa, Ohio, Florida, and other states that have become fully non-swing states. And I think North Carolina is real close to becoming a non-swing state with a red Senate seat, which would be important for the Republicans to hang on to in this critical midterm cycle, correct?
Yeah, I heard some speculation about 30 minutes before I came on that maybe Mark Robinson was kicking around that idea of running for Senate. And of course, we saw his run for governor. It didn't quite work out the way that he wanted to. So I want to see someone get in that position that is going to fight and going to support the America First agenda. We don't need another long-term bureaucrat that's been there forever in public service, maybe someone who's been in the North Carolina State House forever and has been kind of milquetoast when it comes to getting things done. We need people that do things. And I read some speculation earlier this morning that someone floated out Laura Trump to be had some interest in that spot. That they said that when she was in Florida, when that spot came. I doubt it. I say there's 0.005% chance she'll do that. Why would she walk away for that type of position? I don't think that's in her best interest. I just don't. I can't speak for her, but it's just what I'm speculating. But it needs to be someone tough, because you're absolutely right. We are on the verge of making these not necessarily a swing state. I'll throw another state in there, Georgia. Georgia, we've got two Democrat senators. You've got a Republican governor, but you have a strong Republican state house. But we've got some big elections there: governor, lieutenant governor, secretary of state, and one of the Senate seats open. So these midterms coming up, if we don't have strong America First, hardcore, red meat Republicans, it will not work out well, because these people will go back to their set ways as soon as President Trump is out of office in 2028. They'll go back to just voting they used to for years, and we need people that's going to stand up and continue the torch. And if Tom Tillis and Don Bacon and Doug Collins would be great.
In Georgia, I think he might be the guy, the VA secretary. We'll see if he decides to get in that race. We'll see what happens. We'll see what happens in Omaha. We'll see what happens. I believe the two members of Congress, fairly conservative, Trump-backed guys that are in Congress right now in North Carolina, probably real hot after that Senate seat. We'll see how that plays out. Brian, I got to leave it right there, my friend. Enjoy the day out there. Looks like another hot one in the nation's capital, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Now, we're just days away from what has been dubbed the Rio Reset, the greatest threat to the U.S. dollar's global dominance in more than 80 years. On July the 6th, BRICS nations, Russia, China, India, Iran, whatever is left of them, and many more are expected to unveil their plans to circumvent the U.S. dollar, thus cratering its value. They've already been laying the groundwork as their central banks have been methodically divesting from the U.S. dollar and U.S. bonds in favor of gold. How can you protect your IRA or 401k from the fallout from this landmark shift? Diversify with gold from Birch Gold Group. Historically, gold has been a safe haven in times of high uncertainty, which is right now. Get a free information kit on tax-sheltered gold IRAs by texting the word America to 989898. July 6 marks a monumental shift happening among nations that control 1/3 of the world's GDP. Arm yourself with information to diversify your retirement savings. Text America to 989898. Claim your free information kit from Birch Gold today. After the break, I'll discuss Ted Cruz's bid to add a 10-year moratorium on AI tech to the big, beautiful bill and the response from the Senate parliamentarian. Details after the break. Well, with the rapid rise of AI technology and its ever-evolving capabilities, every country in the world is trying to get ahead and be at the forefront of AI infrastructure instead of behind it. And a new addition to the big, beautiful bill will possibly put America in a sizable lead in regard to AI technology. Why? Well, because Senator Ted Cruz is the person who has heralded this proposal. And last Thursday, he and other Republicans made an appearance in the Senate Parliamentarian to explain an addition to the bill where broadband funds would go to recipients as long as a 10-year moratorium for AI regulation was upheld, meaning that a uniform policy would allow for AI innovation with little to no regulation instead of having it to be state by state. The Senate Parliamentarian greenlit the proposal, and now the addition to the bill is complete just in time for whenever the final decision is made on whether or not the big, beautiful bill makes its way through. Here to talk with me about this is Net Choice's Director of Policy, Patrick Hedger. Patrick, nice to see you again. In English for us, please. What does this mean?
Yeah, absolutely. So there's been some debate about this recently, and where we're at right now is actually a 5-year AI pause. And so a lot of the other details are the same, where if states agree to not put forward major regulations that exclusively target AI systems and model development, they can get access to a pool of money dedicated to broadband deployment as well as AI development. So it's really sort of an opt-in system to say, hey, if you give Congress the breathing room to set a national AI framework, instead of trying to regulate it at a 50-state patchwork where you have a different bill and a different set of rules in each state for AI systems, we're going to unlock this cash for you. So that's where we sit right now, a 5-year pause on any sort of aggressive regulation of AI by state governments.
So what will that allow? This cash will allow what to happen next, Patrick?
Yeah, so this is funding that had already kind of gone out the door and was sitting with the Commerce Department and to be put towards broadband deployment, and then also some funding for, I believe, AI adoption at the state level as well, in basically promoting AI systems. So it's a pot of cash that's there available for states to essentially opt into at this point if this provision is adopted. And that's, it's a carrot approach versus a stick approach to states to say, hey, look, we need to be the leaders on AI globally. China is nipping at our heels. But if we have 50 different rules, some of which conflict with each other in terms of what AI systems can and cannot do and how they're supposed to be designed, that's going to be terrible for startups. And it's going to lock in only a few big AI players that can perhaps even possibly comply with such a framework.
Yeah, you mentioned China there, but look, China steals everything. It's no secret, and we have no secrets when China is around. They'll steal anything, intellectual property, breakthroughs, ideas, whole systems. They'll steal it all and take it home with them. How do we protect ourselves against that? You say China's nipping at our heels. I'm not sure if they're even at our heels anymore, not side by side with us, trying to take the lead.
Yeah, that's why we have to constantly keep innovating, right? Because they do it in a dishonest way. So to try and pause AI development here just means that China gets an opportunity not just to be in tandem with us, but leap ahead. But something else that needs to happen. So what this pause is designed to do is give Congress breathing room to put in place a national AI framework. That way, California's regulators aren't dominating the technology landscape going forward. But something else that Congress needs to do is get ahead and put in place a national data privacy and data security framework. I think that would go a really long way in preventing these kinds of breaches that we see of Chinese espionage into our major companies.
All right, so what kind of breakthroughs are we looking at here? I mean, AI has changed the world. Google's dead. I mean, they may not realize it yet, but Chat, GPT, Grok, these are far better search engines with better, more comprehensive answers that are more interesting than anything Google does, right? I mean, here we are, and so Google's in real trouble here. Elon Musk might prove to be dangerous to them as well and others. So, I mean, there's a big horizon here. AI is going to continue to change the world in some ways for the better, in some ways not so much, Patrick, but it is changing rapidly. In 5 years from now, I could have an Optimus robot walking around the house cleaning the place for all I know.
Yeah, AI is really the first general purpose technological revolution we've seen since the internet, and perhaps really since electricity itself, because of its ability to accomplish and complement so many different systems that we use. I mean, if you look at the driverless taxis that are being deployed right now, those are powered by AI systems. It's not just the really interesting new ways people are searching the internet, but it's the way that AI is involved in pattern recognition throughout the economy, whether that's better medical diagnoses, coming up with new forms of crystals and metals that can be used in technology that we previously didn't know could be stable, medicines, all of these general purpose use cases for AI that could really turbocharge any industry. And so it's really important that for whatever we're talking about, whether that's digital services like internet search or healthcare or military applications, that's being done here.
Yeah. Patrick, the world is changing rapidly. I think the best advice is to hang on tight and hope that we lead the way, because we'd prefer to be in the lead. And I think there need to be some guardrails here. Otherwise, the Chinese will steal us blind. Patrick Hedger, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
All right, after the break, I'll tell you about an exciting new opportunity to win your very own hand-painted hardwood American flag right here on Real America's Voice. Stay tuned for a chance to win. I'll be right back.
It's almost Independence Day, and all of America will be celebrating. But here at Real America's Voice, we want to celebrate you. Every day from June 30th through July 4th, we're giving away a handcrafted, hand-painted hardwood flag to one lucky RAV viewer. These beautiful flags come from YourAmericanFlagStore.com, where 10% of every purchase goes to Your American Flag Foundation. Scan the QR code to opt in for your chance to win and receive future RAV promotions from our hearts for your home. Use code RAV for free shipping.
And as you just saw, Real America's Voice is hosting a flag giveaway from now through the 4th of July. All flags in the giveaway are 100% handcrafted, including hand-painted artwork. Each day, a different flag. And RAV viewers get free shipping with the promo code RAV. RAV viewers also get 10% off all flag purchases with the promo code RAV. Also, 10% of your purchases will be donated donated to YourAmericanFlagFoundation.com, a nonprofit organization committed to recognizing and honoring our fallen and retiring American military and law enforcement heroes with custom and personalized art for their homes. Here with me to discuss this giveaway, the CEO of Your Flag Company, YourFlagStore.com, that's what it is, James Stocky. James, nice to see you again.
Nice to see you, Steve. Thanks for having me back.
Yeah, YourFlagStore.com. I'm going to make sure that people hear that right, YourFlagStore.com. All right, tell me about these pieces of art that you put out there that somebody's going to have a chance to win each day this week. Go ahead.
Yeah, so each day this week, we're going to be giving away one of our flags from YourAmericanFlagStore.com. And each day it's going to be a different one. Today we're going to be giving away, we're going to start simple with the original Old Glory. It's going to be a red, white, and blue flag with 50 stars on it. All the stars are going to be hand painted. It's a beautiful flag. It's pretty much our most popular flag. So we're going to start off with that. And each day of the week, we're going to get with a little bit more complicated flags. And Friday, I think we're going to try to do something real special for the RAV audience and create a special flag for that winner on Friday, where we'll do a fully custom flag for them, where they could choose the artwork, and we'll work through that whole process with them.
Wow. So custom artwork from YourAmericanFlagStore.com. How'd you start doing this, James? I mean, obviously you like wood, you like art, you love America, but where did this all come from?
This actually came from our son about 8 years ago now, when he was 6 years old. He put together that I was a carpenter and his mom was an artist. And one day he came up to us and pitched us a business idea and said, Daddy, you have the tools to make wooden American flags. Mommy has the art. Let's make flags and put like George Washington on them. And the company was born the next morning when we built our first flag. And it was all, it was our son's idea. So, I wish I could take the credit. I just can't. It was my son's idea.
No, that's all right. The young man deserves credit. Give credit where credit is due. What is your most popular? First of all, how many flags you made since that first morning, the next day, and what is your most popular?
We're probably right around 6,000 flags. I'm thinking right around now. We're sneaking up on that number. The most popular flag over time has definitely been the OG. That's just, a lot of people like to go to that. The second most popular would be a mixture of our military flags, where we put the military emblems, service dates, that kind of thing. We customize it for all of our military guys. And then law enforcement, they buy an array of flags, but law enforcement have always been one of our biggest supporters. And we have a very special flag we make for those guys, where we take a picture of their badge that they wear on their chest every day, and my wife hand paints an exact replica of that badge for them on the flag. That's really what has made sets us apart from all the other flag makers in the country, is that we do very, very custom, intricate artwork.
Yeah, there you go. All right, so how do they enter? I think it's YourAmericanFlagStore.com, promo code RAV. Is that correct?
Yeah, I think that there's a QR code on the screen that they scan it, and if they register for the RAV newsletter, they're going to get to be entered. And each day this week, we're going to pull one entry out that is registered for the RAV newsletter, and they're going to win a flag from us. And like I said, each day the flag is going to get a little bit more higher value each day.
All right. So is he the VP of the company now? Just want to make sure we're looking out for the little man.
Yeah, his title is the founder, and man, he milks it for all he can. He tells all of his teachers at schools and friends that my wife and I are his employees, and he runs the show here, and we work for him. But I run the business. My wife does all the artwork. Max is our CEO, or our founder, and I'm the CEO. My wife does all the artwork. So it's a good family business, but it's hard to keep those young boys in line sometimes.
Well, I've got one of those, and you're exactly right. Find out more about the giveaway. YourAmericanFlagStore.com. YourAmericanFlagStore.com. Hey, Stocky, thank you for being here.
Love it. Thank you, Steve. Thanks for having me back.
Yeah, greatly appreciate it. There you have it. Cool stuff, and you can win one today. All right, a new administration in D.C. has brought a lot of positive changes when it comes to fixing the broken healthcare system, but the reality is there's only so much the government can do. And if we really want to make America healthy again, that starts at home with you and with me. That's where the wellness company comes in. You see and hear from TWC doctors on this program regularly, and you know that their products are the gold standard for keeping you safe and healthy. The wellness company gives you the opportunity to make sure you are prepared for whatever happens with their series of prescription medical kits that contain an assortment of life-saving medications and guidebooks to assist in the proper use of these medications. Additionally, the Wellness Company offers a variety of products from parasite cleanses to methylene blue to weight loss and so much more that can help you stay healthy and live a longer, more satisfying life. Make America healthy again starts at home with you. Do your part. Protect the health of you and your family. Go to twc.health/voice today and order. That's twc.health/voice. Use the promo code VOICE. Save 10%. After the break, we'll have a story that reminds us of how wonderful America is. I know how you like it and don't like it when it's not here. We'll have that. Plus your answer to the America's Voice question of the day. Do you think that the big, beautiful bill will get passed before the 4th of July deadline? Why or why not? Back with your answers, America. We always want to do something to make you feel good about this country. What makes America wonderful? We do it every day to put a smile on your face, to remind you just how great America is. Today's story comes to us from Montgomery, Alabama, where a Hardee's worker got an unexpected surprise just for showing up on time. Daubrey Filson is described as an exceptional employee by his peers and supervisors, and every day, without fail, he was there on time and ready to work his shift. The only caveat was his method of transportation. As a shift supervisor noticed that the young man was walking 4 miles to and from work every day, 4 miles. Then a stranger, now known as Shane Woodward, stepped in when he noticed that Filson walking along the interstate in his uniform. Shocked at the sight he saw, the young man made the trek and decided to extend an act of kindness. Later that day, Filson finished his shift and found a brand new bicycle waiting for him with the aforementioned customer there as well, waiting to give him the bike to make his commute, well, just a little bit easier. Filson commented on this act of kindness and thanked Woodward, noting that I was just thankful because no one would really do that. And this extension of grace by the stranger has blossomed into a friendship. Acknowledging someone else's struggles is indicative of a high level of empathy for your fellow man, and doing something to actively help one situation is going above and beyond. Stories like these show us what America really is and how wonderful it truly is. All right, do you think the big beautiful bill will get passed before the 4th of July? Why or why not? Kristen Davidson, Norwood. No, they can't come together over anything. At least Democrats keep it consistent with race and violence. Reva Rice, nope. It is unbelievable that we pay these idiots a salary. Any other job, they'd be fired. Duana Buck. You notice Democrats don't say millionaires because most of them are from fraud and corruption? Dana Newton shares this. Not through Congress, maybe the Senate, because Congress doesn't give a damn about actually getting anything done. If it does get passed eventually, don't expect anything else to be done until after the next election cycle. That's just how Congress has been operating for years. And Linda Hollinger writes this. Yes, it will. Can't wait for President Trump to sign it. Look, a little optimism. To sign out for the day, a little optimism. All right, remember to follow me on X and Facebook and all the social media platforms, Truth especially, because that's where you find the question of the day every day for this program. Your chance to weigh in. You got to follow me, and then I'll answer your questions here. You can also join me tomorrow morning at 6, Monday through Friday, to start the broadcast day on Real America's Voice with the Steve Gruber Show, and then back for AVL.
America's Voice family. Are you on Getter yet? No?
What are you waiting for?
It's free.
It's uncensored.
And it's where all the biggest voices in conservative media are speaking out.
Download the Getter app right now. It's totally free. It's where I put up exclusively all of my content 24 hours a day. You want to know what Steve Bannon's thinking? Go to Getter.
That's right. You can follow all of your favorites. Steve Bannon, Charlie Kirk, Jack Posobiec.
And so many more.
And the best part?
You can watch Real America's Voice right there on Getter.
Live.
So join the conversation.
Hop on the Getter chat room.
Engage with patriots who are just like you.
Good morning, Getter friends.
We're breaking news, we're delivering the truth,
and we're doing it on Getter
every single day.
So don't wait. Download the Getter app now.
Sign up for free and be part of the movement.
It isn't just an app. It isn't just a social media platform. It's a community.
All right, clap away, folks. Clap away. Wall Street did a damn good job in the quarter. Last day of the quarter, right? There it is. Ding, ding, ding. Market's going to end up 270 points higher or so. New York Stock Exchange. So you've got 290. I got 269 here. It's whatever. NASDAQ can stay up as well. New record high in the NASDAQ and the S&P as it was on Friday. Another new record high. Trump talked about it all week and weekend long. Here's a good one, though, folks. Gold, yes. Crypto up a little bit, 107,500 or so. You know, it approached 109,000 at one point. The good news there, You pick it out? We've been talking about it since we started. Can you pick it out? Yep. Oil down 55 cents a barrel, under $65 a barrel. I'm going to say it again, folks. I am doing everything in my power, talking to Bannon, talking to the folks who talk to Trump, to get him to please buy oil for the Strategic Petroleum Reserve. Joe Biden drained our SPR. It's supposed to hold 750 million gallons for emergency use. Biden drained it by 400 million barrels because prices were high. No emergency, just he sucked at being a president. And I'm asking Trump to buy it back. Not only that, bring the SPR up to 1 billion barrels at this low price. It's lower than Biden said it would ever get, and it never got is this low under the Biden 4 years. So buy the SPR, President Trump, but all in all, a very good day in the markets. All right, folks, my first guest is the man who's leading the charge to make America safer again every single day. Happy to announce Border Czar Tom Homan is back with us. Border Czar Homan, appreciate your time. Very hot day in Washington. This bill, tell the American people exactly how important it is on both sides of the aisle, frankly, political aisle, how important it is to get this big, beautiful bill passed, especially to Homeland Security.
Look, the big beautiful bill is a must-have. Right? I think it's a nonpartisan issue to have a secure border and to arrest significant public safety threats and national security threats that are running around this country. I said the other day we got 600,000 illegal aliens with criminal convictions walks the street of this nation. We need more agents on the ground. We need more detention beds. We need more transportation. The big beautiful bill does this. It should be a nonpartisan issue, removing public safety threats. I can't understand the debate on this, but every day we arrest criminal aliens across the country, makes this country safe again. I looked at the numbers this morning. ICE has already arrested over 200 Iranian nationals in this country that are a significant national security concern. For more money, we can do more. It should be a simple answer to this. So I'm asking every person out there, call your congressman, call your senator, call your congressman, and tell them they need to pass this bill. It'll make this country safe again. And we'll keep the promise to the American people that President Trump made to them to make this country safe again. We've got the most secure border in the history of this nation. You want to make that security permanent. You want to make sex permanent? We need money to build walls work. More money for technology within the existing wall so agents can talk to one another. We know when someone approaches a wall, digs under that wall. This big, beautiful bill is going to permanently seal the success we have on the border and let us arrest more public safety threats across this country every single day.
Let's talk about that success you're having on the border, folks. If you don't realize this, last month, that man right there, Tom Homan, along with the whole border security, Homeland Security, Donald Trump, et cetera, we've had zero people, illegal criminals coming across the border into the country, as opposed to 67,000 a year ago. 67,000 let go inside the country, zero under that Border Czar right there last month. Tom, let's talk a little bit about this injunction, these injunctions that are continuing being slapped on, President Trump's ideas, your ideas, deport these illegals. Finally, the Supreme Court steps in and says, enough, activist judges, it's not going to happen any further. Do you think they've paved the way to continue the work you've done? Or are you going to get more activist judges trying to disrespect the Supreme Court?
Well, look, it was a great Supreme Court decision. I don't think game's over. I think you'll have activist judges try to stick their fingers in this every single day. I cannot believe we're at a point where a district court judge, and I say district court judge, will make a decision that affects the entire nation and put a nationwide injunction in place. It was a great win by the Supreme Court. I think we can move forward and be even more successful than we already are. But don't think for a minute that radical judges aren't going to try to get in the middle of our success. But I think we got the greatest president of my lifetime sitting in the White House. We're going to keep fighting every day, again, to keep the promise to the American people to make this country safe again. So if they want to keep bringing it, bring it. We'll take it on. But the men and women of ICE are going to be out in their full force today, tomorrow, and the next day. The radical judges aren't going to stop what we're doing. Again, every criminal public safety threat we arrest makes that community safer. Everybody should be in agreement with that, and we're going to continue doing that.
It's bizarre that anyone would disagree with that, and every time there's violent crime perpetrated by one of these illegals, every Democrat should be held to account for that. Tom, the question is, so the Supreme Court says no more of these nationwide injunctions by district court judges on birthright citizenship. Will that also spill into some of the other things that they try to do at the court level? Stop you, for example, from deporting these criminals to El Salvador, for example?
No, look, I think the battle continues, right? It's a great decision by the Supreme Court, but I don't think for a minute these radical judges are just going to go away. They're going to try to do what they can within the law and, frankly, outside the law and their interpretation of the law to try to slow us down. But thank God we got Pam Bondi as the Attorney General. Thank God we got Kash Patel. We got Kristi Noem. This president's got one hell of a team. And we're going to be fighting to do the right thing. We're not making it. Here's what people need to understand. ICE isn't making this up. We're enforcing the laws enacted by Congress and signed by the president. We're enforcing laws as given to us by Congress and appropriated. They give us funding to enforce the law. And we're out looking for these illegal aliens. A vast majority of them already have final orders issued by a federal judge. They had to due process at great taxpayer expense. We're simply executing orders that were issued by a federal judge. So, if you think about it, we're enforcing laws enacted by Congress. We're enforcing removal orders issued by a federal judge. We're not making this up. We're going to keep doing what we're doing. If people have a problem with it, you go protest Congress. They're the ones who wrote the law. We're simply enforcing it. But again, we're not going to slow down. We'll be out there every day enforcing laws of this great country and making this country safe every day.
So tomorrow is a big event. I've seen this a while ago, and I wanted to talk to you guys about it. And it's really, in the last couple of weeks, blown up into quite an interesting concept. Governor DeSantis down here in Florida is opening Alligator Alcatraz right here in Florida. So what this is a detention center that will house, I believe, a couple thousand, if I'm not wrong, illegals. Interesting, in the middle of the Everglades, and that's really why they're calling it Alligator Alcatraz. Tell us about the genesis of this. I have a follow-up question on this after.
Well, look, we know Governor DeSantis, he's been in front of this the entire time, and soon after President Trump became the president for the second time, Governor DeSantis didn't hesitate to get legislation in the state of Florida. Every sheriff and chief of police in the state of Florida have no choice but to work with ICE. Governor DeSantis passed legislation doing that. He's also come to the table with this new facility that's going to give us a couple of thousand beds. And we're using funding that used to go to NGOs, put illegal aliens in a hotel room at $500 a night, and using some of this funding for this. The beds are a reasonable cost. They'll be up very soon, and they're in a place where most Americans aren't going to argue. And a lot of communities, they don't want a prison or a detention facility near them. Here's a great place. Governor DeSantis is leaning forward on this. We'll certainly fill those beds as quick as that facility opens up. We'll fill those beds, which, again, getting back to big, beautiful bills, why we need that bill to buy more beds. I think this morning I woke up, I think we got 1,800 empty beds. We're going to fill them in 2 days. Now, we're going to do removal flights and move, empty some more beds up, but we're constantly playing catch up. The big, beautiful bills give us more beds beyond a couple of thousand that Governor DeSantis is building right now. We need more on top of that. So, again, the more money we have for more detention beds and more officers and more contract personnel to do jobs that don't require a badge and gun, so we can put the badges and gun on the street rather than sitting in an office doing keystrokes and some administrative duty, we need that funding. So Governor DeSantis is coming to the table with this, but we need more beyond that. But God bless Governor DeSantis stepping up. I appreciate him for doing that.
It's amazing. And just reiterate what you just said. It kind of flew under the radar there that you're using some of the funding for this. So some of the beds will come from the NGOs who used to get money from USAID or whomever to hide illegals and to support illegal immigration. You're going to take that money away from them and add it to stopping illegal immigration. Did I get that correct?
You got it correct, and here's the good thing. When they're in an ICE detention facility, contracted facility we control, they get a hearing within 40 days. But under the Biden administration, the NGO got put them in a hotel room in New York City at $500 a night. They get put on what we call the non-detained docket, which means their hearing is 3, 5, 7 years out, depending if they exhaust all their appeals. And that's what the Democratic Party was doing. They're playing the long game. They figured they put them in these facilities and have their hearings 3, 5, 7 years out, then maybe a Democratic administration comes back in the future, then they give amnesty to millions of people. We're not playing that game. We're playing the short, long game too. But what we're doing is putting people in our facilities that get a hearing within 40 days. 90% will lose their case. They simply don't qualify for asylum. We put them on an airplane and send them home. That sends a message to the whole world There's a right way and wrong way to come to this country. If you cross the border illegally, you're not going to be released, you're going to be detained, you're going to be deported. We're the most giving nation in the entire world. We welcome more refugees than any other nation in the world, and we'll continue doing that. But we're also going to be a nation of laws. Our border is no longer open. You won't be released in this country. You'll be detained and removed. 0 releases.
Amen. Amen. Very quickly, Tom, because I know you got to go. Just talk to us a little bit about the contrast between blue states and red states. As you point out, in Florida, DeSantis is turning Alligator Alcatraz, an abandoned airstrip, into a ICE detention facility. In New York City, where I believe you're headed very soon, you have a socialist, almost a Marxist actually, who's right now the leading contender to be next mayor of New York City. The juxtaposition of those two positions, specifically on immigration, is stunning, jarring.
Well, look, sanctuary jurisdictions are sanctuary for criminals. Hard stop. They don't give us access to the jail, but we can safely take into custody an illegal alien who's been arrested for a violent offense. Think about it for a moment. We want access to jail to talk to the person they locked in a jail cell. That's who we want to talk to. They don't allow that. They release them in the community. They knowingly release a public safety threat back in the community to reoffend. It's unsafe for the agent to seek that person out in the community. It's unsafe for the alien. It's certainly unsafe for the public, the public sector, the community. So here's what sanctuary cities are going to get. They're going to get exactly what they don't want: more agents in the community and more worksite enforcement. If we can't arrest a bad guy in the safety and security of a jail, then we'll go to community and find him. We'll go to worksite and find him. President Trump's already said it a couple weeks ago. We're going to double down on sanctuary cities. We're going to focus and prioritize sanctuary cities. That's the right thing to do. We know we have a problem with sanctuary cities because we know they're releasing public safety threats in the community. We don't have that issue in Florida. So we're going to use less resources in Florida and more resources in places like New York. That's exactly what the president has committed to do, and that's what we're doing.
Great, great. The mandate the American people gave all of you folks. Very quickly, Tom, before we let you go, your life has probably dramatically changed over the last 5 months. How are you handling it? How are you handling I'm not going to say celebrity, just you become a household name, for example.
Well, look, I think all the credit goes to President Trump, not me. I mean, President Trump's a game changer. He came in and passed executive orders that were game changers. Remain in Mexico, 30 safe country agreements, and catch and release. I want to give it credit to the men and women wearing that badge and gun who were at 2 o'clock this morning, you and I sleeping in bed, and there's a Border Patrol agent standing on a dirt trail someplace securing our border against, national security threats. There's ICE officers out at 3 o'clock this morning doing surveillance on a significant public safety threat they want to locate and arrest. So I don't take any of the credit. I give the credit to men and women wearing the badge. God bless the men and women of the Border Patrol, and God bless the men and women of the United States Immigration and Customs Enforcement. And God bless the greatest president of my lifetime, Donald Trump, because he's letting the Border Patrol and ICE do the job they took an oath to enforce. We finally got a country back. We're going to enforce the laws to make this country safe. So I give thanks to all of those folks. I'm just happy to be part of the team that's doing it.
Well, an integral part of the team, and that is really the American people. Thank you, thank the president. And again, we rode along with some of your ICE agents and others. Those folks go home to their husbands and wives and kids and dogs too. Sometimes people don't realize how we have to protect them as well.
What you just said, let's put stomp on that. People need to understand all the tax and ICE and border places, they're mom and dads too. They have children too. They don't hang their heart on a hook every day they go to work. For God's sakes, these aren't the enemy. These are American patriots who put their lives on the line every day for this nation. If you see one, thank one. They're the greatest 1% this country has.
We're going to leave it at that. Tom Homan, appreciate your time, sir. Stay safe.
All right, thank you.
All right, folks. Tom Homan. Awesome man. Borders are right there. Keep things real. We'll be back in 2.5 minutes. All right, my next guest is a national security analyst expert, really. She's an absolute expert, chairwoman of actforamerica.org and a New York Times bestselling author of Rise in Defense of Judeo-Christian Values and Freedom. Let's welcome Bridget Gabriel. Awesome to have you back, Bridget Gabriel. It's been a while. Really good. So get us up to speed on what's going on in the Middle East from your perspective, and let's bring in some things that maybe we're not talking about. We've been talking about the obvious stuff, the bomb, et cetera. Israel stands down, yada yada. What do you see? Is there anything that's popping in your mind that's concerning you?
Look, we are seeing a total transformation of the Middle East, and it's a great thing to see. Who would have thought just 1 year ago, Hezbollah would be completely paralyzed, Hamas is paralyzed, Iran will be on its own to the point where China and Russia and North Korea would not come to its aid when it is attacked, not even the Houthis. The proxy armies that Iran prepared are basically nothing. They could not do a thing when Israel and America attacked Iran. It is an amazing thing to see. And I just heard yesterday that Lebanon and Syria now are considering joining the Abraham Accord, which will be a phenomenal news to transform the Middle East. I think that what transpired in the last 6 months, and certainly in the last 12 weeks, is going to change the landscape of the Middle East and usher in a new era, a more peaceful era, a more prosperous era under President Trump. Iran is, I do not want to say it's no longer a threat, but the threat is so minimized, it is truly irrelevant in the near future.
You know, I'm looking at this new study that was just put out. I think the folks over at Media Research Center put it out, and they said that there was a poll, and this poll voted President Trump as the most anti-Semitic president of the last 5 presidents. And I'm thinking, are you really kidding me? I mean, he just dropped the bomb basically to save Israel and certainly to save a lot of other people around the world. But I mean, what is this nonsense coming from that Trump is some sort of anti-Semite?
Look, it's nonsense. They're trying to throw at President Trump everything they can. He's an anti-Semite. He doesn't care about the people. He wants to drag everybody, the whole world into World War III. Look, if President Trump took a baby from a shark's mouth that was drowning and being attacked by a shark, the left is going to say President Trump is starving the shark, the fish at the sea. It doesn't matter what he does. They're going to attack him. And this whole anti-Semitic thing is such a total nonsense. President Trump, of all people, has proven how he stands on the right side and on the side of Israel. When he decided to move the embassy to Jerusalem, remember, every other president promised to move the American embassy to Jerusalem. Not one president had the backbone to do so except for President Trump. He moved the embassy to Jerusalem. Time and time again, look what Israel has been going through war, for the last year and a half. And under the Biden administration, not only we did not stand with Israel, we actually were building a bridge to send trucks of food to Hamas using American tax dollars to help the enemies of Israel, not the Israelis. As soon as President Trump came into power, he started helping Israel. He knew that he needed to help the only democratic, civilized nation in the Middle East against a terror regime that was not just against Israel. Because remember, the enemies of Israel are the enemies of the United States. Those who are trying to take out Israel or attack Israelis or kill Israelis are the same people who hate America, want to attack Americans, want to kill Americans, want to carry terrorist attacks within America and against American installation and interests worldwide. So we have a common enemy. President Trump is standing in defense of the state of Israel, in defense of the Jewish people in the United States. Look what he did with the universities, defunding them. Any university that is anti-Semitic had their governmental funding pulled away. That's a president who stands with the Jewish people. It doesn't matter what anybody else says. His actions speak louder than his words.
You know, Bridget, bring it to New York now for a minute. Now, this is a national show, and no one really likes New York around here, especially me. I spent 30 years there, and I'm done with that godforsaken place. It just blows my mind to think that this guy, Zofran Mamdani, a socialist, maybe even a Marxist, has now won the Democrat primary for the final election in November. What is New York thinking? I mean, didn't they learn their lesson over look at what's going on in New York and in LA and in all the, Democrat-run cities, sanctuary cities, that they give stuff away. It's not working. The people don't want that, and yet they may elect a socialist or Marxist mayor.
You know what's shocking to me is who would have thought we go from 9/11/2001, where we said we will never forget, remember, everybody, never forget. New York forgot so fast that they elected a man who does not believe Hamas is a terrorist organization, who started his activism in the Student for Justice for Palestine on university campuses, who would stand with the enemies against the United States, with them, who wants to globalize the Intifada, put everything else, the taxes, the this, that, the other, which is terrible that he wants to turn New York into a socialist hub. But the fact that the man does not recognize the terrorist threat to the city of New York and the center of commerce of the United States, the symbol of the pinnacle of the Judeo-Christian Western civilization, New York City, that he doesn't recognize the threat to New York, that should scare everyone in New York. Unfortunately, the young Americans and the elites who voted for him, who lived the elite hoity-toities who voted for him because he's very chic and he's very articulate and he's great on social media. It reminds me of the same talking points they used when they voted for Obama. Oh, he's so classy, he's so chic, he's so sophisticated, he speaks so well. And that's why they voted for him. And as a result, we end up with a nuclear Iran that we had to take care of. So now they are voting for him, and that's the scary part because they're shooting themselves in the foot. They are destroying the city, and it's going to have ramification nationwide.
People are fleeing.
Through the real election.
People are fleeing. He wants to raise the tax rate to like almost 20% for just city alone. 20% just for the city. It's a nut job. And he also said he was going to arrest Bibi Netanyahu if he stepped foot in New York City. And by the way,
minimum wage $30.
The UN General Assembly is in New York. I mean, are you kidding me? Mom Donnie, I'm sorry about that, man. What the country is, that city is like California. We could just give them, don't want to be part of the United States. Fine. Let's get rid of you guys, both of you. Bridget, really good to have you. We'll get you back again very, very soon. This is not going away anytime soon, but good to get you back in the mix, my friend.
Thank you, my friend. Great being with you.
So it's difficult to overrate the kind of week, well, maybe the kind of 10 days it's been for the MAGA world. Even CNN wants in on all our winning.
President flexing his political muscle there after what may be empirically the best week of his presidency so far, a sweeping Supreme Court victory, expanding his powers, the Dow at a record high, ceasefires between Israel and Iran and in Rwanda. And now President Trump is focusing on his allies on Capitol Hill, where he hopes for another win.
Spoiler alert to Friday's Shake Tapper. The president did indeed notch yet another win this weekend with the Senate passing his big, beautiful bill onto Votorama. And by the way, new record highs for both the NASDAQ and the S&P today, Monday. Jakey, are you tired of the winning, though, folks? Of course not. We're not. But as always, never forget, where there's a MAGA win, there's always a swampy, dirty Democrat eager to use the law or to break the law to stop the MAGA progress. There hasn't been such winning for 10 days straight for a single president that we've ever witnessed, both domestically and internationally. If you're a Trump supporter, this is the greatest moment to be alive. A ceasefire between Iran and Israel after the nuclear facilities are obliterated. The Supreme Court ends the judicial coup by limiting nationwide injunctions for those activist judges around the country. President Trump secures 5% of GDP defense spending from every NATO country, amounting to billions, dare I say, hundreds of billions of dollars in case someone's keeping count. Another war ended with the president helping to mediate a peace deal between Rwanda and the Congo that's been going on forever. Hundreds of thousands of people have died in that conflict. The Trump administration gets permission from the Supreme Court to send illegals to third-party countries. Goodbye, Maryland man. If I ended the list there, it would be amazing enough, but we're not even close. The S&P 500, NASDAQ hit record highs Friday and then again today. The Senate's attempt to rein in the president through a war powers resolution fails, flopped. Trump victory yet again. A China trade deal materializing. More and more food giants join the growing list of companies removing artificial dyes and colorings in their food products. That's Maha in action, folks. Some of the biggest food companies in the world, too. RFK Jr. is just churning it out in the background, making Americans healthier as promised. And Chelsea just can't handle it.
Nothing matters, right? Facts don't matter to him. And certainly public health doesn't seem to matter to him. They're trying to retrench on like food safety and food inspection, most notably on dairy products.
Quick, someone check how much Chelsea gets right into her pocket from big food companies, specifically dairy products. It seems to me like the Clinton progeny is panicked now that her USAID handouts have been squeezed. Sorry, baby Clinton. No more government handouts for you. Oh, and you thought we were done with the MAGA wins just in the last 10 days? Not even close. Social Security handouts saw the largest monthly decline ever after attempts to end waste, fraud, and abuse. Hello, Elon Musk and Doge. Oh, and speaking of the young Doge prodigy Big Balls, well, he's back in government. The product of this unforgettable, magical moment.
Now, the disruptor-in-chief, Elon Musk, who apparently has adopted the alias, at least he changed his social media handle to Harry Balls.
Yeah, I just can't pay enough to hear Dana Bass say big balls on air. Oh, you thought we were done winning? Not yet. Now, General Electric Appliances, the division that builds appliances, is moving their manufacturing, get this, from China to Kentucky, right here in America. The Pentagon has started reinstating service members who were wrongfully discharged for refusing to get that vaccine jab. Remember that, the COVID one? And the DEI president, University of Virginia, resigned after pressure from the Trump administration. It's a good time to be MAGA. That goes without saying. And then the big, beautiful bill, well, makes its way through the Senate. J.D. Vance showed up to be the tying vote, but didn't even need to be after convincing certain Republicans to change their votes to a yes. Only two holdouts, Rand and Tom Tillis. And Tillis says he's not going to run again. And there might be even more wins this week. A ceasefire between Israel and Gaza. Maybe. Saw some bombs flying from Israel to Gaza today, but we'll see. For another win to launch this week, looks like Canada has caved on tariffs. Another win there. But never forget, Democrats have dedicated their existence, their very existence, to stopping Trump by any means necessary. They deployed every single asset in an attempt to smear, obstruct, remove, eliminate Trump, well, from bringing world peace. They don't want it, I guess. There's no recovering from what they're doing, and yet they're continuing with it, full steam ahead. They're extinct or dying, but they don't even know it yet. Dems have already shown us over and over again that they don't give a rat's ass about the Supreme Court. They're swampy, and you can count on them finding yet another way around it, just like Joe Biden used to do, and take their word for it.
There are still many open pathways to block President Trump's illegal and unconstitutional birthright citizenship order.
Still many open pathways to block. I mean, give it up, lady. Is that Tammy Duckworth, I think, or Mazie Hirono, one of the two senators? This is what they need. This is all they have left. They need to replace Americans with illegals who will vote for them. That's all they've got left. Ironically, the key to their success is the failure of the United States. Again, not going to say it any other way. The key to our success, the success of the party, but most importantly of the country, is to deport. Our quality of life, our economy, our elections, everything depends on American sovereignty. If we want more wins, you got to deport. It's as simple as that. You want your car insurance to decrease? Deport these illegals. You want cheaper housing, better medical care, less spending and lower deficits, cleaner, safer cities, fair elections? Deport, 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 deport. We're days away from what has been dubbed the real reset, folks. We are days away. This is onto another topic. Days away from the real reset. The greatest threat to the U.S. dollar's global dominance in over 80 years. On July 6, BRICS nations, this is really important, Brazil, Russia, China, India, Iran, and many other countries are expected to unveil their plans to circumvent the U.S. dollar, thus cratering the value of the dollar. They've already been laying the groundwork as their central banks have been methodically divesting from U.S. dollars and from U.S. bonds in favor of gold. How can you protect your IRA or 401k from the fallout from this landmark shift, really, in equity and values, so to speak? Well, you got to diversify, and the best way to diversify is with gold, and the best way to do that is with the Birch Gold Group. Historically, gold has been a safe haven in times of high uncertainty, which we're in right now. Get a free info kit on tax-sheltered gold IRAs by texting the word America to 989898. July 6th, just a few days from now, marks a monumental shift happening among nations that control 1/3 of the world's GDP. Arm yourself with information to diversify your retirement savings. Text America, that word America, to the number 989898. Claim your free info kit from Birch Gold. Very quickly, before we do the break, got a podcast. There it is. Hit the subscribe along the bottom, any one of those. It's always free. You can see this show. You can see an interview with Tom Homan. You want to see that one again? Hit subscribe and get it anytime, anywhere. Also, we've been doing voicemails, folks. We love these voicemails. Toll free. There's the number right there. Toll free, 888-601-032. Give us a call. We'll talk about anything you want. And you'll see later on in the show, you talk about a lot of things. We'll be hitting some of those towards the end of the show. We'll be back 2.5 minutes.
So we decided that it was time for us. I'm about to retire. I wanted to be healthy and enjoy my retirement rather than be tired all the time and lethargic. I do have more energy that lasts longer. I'm sleeping much better, and I have a cervical issue that's affecting my arms, and that has subsided.
I have PTSD and have been suffering from night terrors up until a week into the protocol.
Wow. That is so awesome.
That's life-changing.
Thank you for being brave and courageous and authentic to share that.
Well, that was a look at another happy, energized health couple. I'm talking about the folks before John and his wife, John Jubilee and his wife, are taking care of themselves as they're ready to retire, and retirement age is trending up, by the way, according to Boston College's Center for Retirement Research. But the state of your health can mean the difference between a retirement you'll enjoy or one that leaves you disappointed. John Jubilee, founder of Energized Health, knows how to ensure you get the most out of your retirement years. Thank you for being here, John. And it's so important that you don't try and catch up after you retire and realize your shoulder hurts, your knee hurts, your back hurts, and you got to go to the bathroom 4 times a night. So tell us how and when we should be starting to look at these types of things.
Today's the day. You know what? You can't do anything about yesterday, Eric, but the good news is listen, today's the day for people to make a decision and say, that's right, I'm not going to wait any longer. When it comes to health, it's one of the only things in the world that can never stay the same. It never stays the same. It's either getting better or it's getting worse. And so today's the day to make a decision to get yourself healthy so that as you do age, you can have full energy, full strength, full mobility. Eric, I can't even make these stories up. I had 2 gentlemen just recently. One guy said he retired. He said, but now, he said, I got enough money to go anywhere in the world, but he goes, I can't be more than 10 miles away from my doctor. He said, because of my heart issues and my blood flow. And had another guy, he's retiring. He's only 55 years old, but he's been 35 years with UPS. And he said, man, I'm getting ready to retire, but now I got all this arthritis. I got all this joint pain, everything. He said, I feel like I can't hardly do anything. So we have to take an action step. If we don't do something different, we won't have anything different. If we don't make a change, we won't have a change. But the great news is we have all these clients, 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s, regrowing their cartilage, canceling their hip surgery, their knee surgeries, getting back their mobility. They can get up and down on the floor now with their grandkids. They never dreamed that was possible until they got into that 88-day protocol. So now's the time.
John, you look at 2 guys. So President Biden, when he first started this past term, about 2 years older than Donald Trump when he started this. It's not that big of an age difference, yet you see a massive difference in the way these 2 gentlemen are able to handle themselves. It clearly could be genetics as well, but how can we kind of lean towards being an active older person versus one that almost clearly should be institutionalized in the form of Biden?
Yeah, well, again, hallelujah and thank God. If Donald Trump won the DNA lottery and he got great genetics, aren't we all thrilled for that? I'm super happy, but I wouldn't bank on that for everybody, right? Everybody's not going to have the great genetics. But the great news is we can reprogram our DNA through the patent pending science of intracellular hydration. Any of us, no matter what our genetics was. And Eric, my biological father was 400 pounds. That's right. That's my genetics. And, and he died way too young. But it doesn't matter what our genetics are. It's the action steps we take in our life. What do we do with our life and our health to take ownership of it? And I just want to encourage people, go look at the thousands of people just like you. How can you get your health and your vitality and your energy back the same way tens of thousands of other people have? But you have to do what they did to have what they have. And you really can do it. This can be your time right now.
John, real quick, last question. What are the signs? What's the first sign you go, dang, it's time to do this thing?
Hey, the first sign, listen, is the first pain. The first pain you feel in your body. We are all supposed to be pain-free. So unless you're playing football on Sundays, you're supposed to be pain-free in life. And if you started to feel an ache or a pain, that means you have inflammation in your body. That is the root cause of pain. Take action as soon as you feel the first pain. You should be living pain-free at every age. I'm 65 years old this year, totally pain-free every day of my life, and you can be too.
All right. So long as I can start getting in and out of my car a little bit easier again, like it used to be. John Jubilee, thank you for your time. All righty, folks. Senator Amy Klobuchar, Minnesota, delivered a counter-argument to Trump's big, beautiful bill. Of course, the bill passed anyway, but not before Klobuchar begged her peers to understand that this big bill doesn't make life in America better for illegal invaders. Thankfully, the bill caters to the needs of working Americans and those who are here lawfully. But listen to Klobuchar's case and notice how she uses the word people instead of Americans.
What does this bill do? It kicks 16 million people off their health care. 16 million people off their health care. In order to finance tax cuts for the wealthiest, in order to give multimillionaires a $400,000 tax cut, that doesn't make the world a better place. Adding $4 trillion in debt, $1 trillion of it is interest, which is going to make mortgage rates go up. It's going to make harder for young people to be able to maybe get their first house or pay their rent. It's putting it on their backs. It's putting it on their shoulders. That's why I don't see this as a big, beautiful bill. I see this as a big, beautiful betrayal of the hardworking people of this country.
First of all, Senator, it doesn't kick 60 million people off health care. It doesn't kick 60 million American citizens off health care. It kicks the illegals off. They're supposed to be on your health care dime anyway. And as for interest rates going up, Trump is trying to get interest rates down to 1%. He's begging Jerome Powell to bring interest rates down so that we can thrive, keep more of our own money, and we don't pay nearly $900 billion to service our own debt. It's not take a rocket scientist to realize lower the interest rate, America is much, much healthier financially. But she's a senator, so she gets her time. Hakeem Jeffries is still whining about Trump's very successful and almost universally appreciated Operation Midnight Hammer. He's mad because Trump didn't do what Obama did and ship Iran pallets with tens of billions of dollars from taxpayers. Listen.
We also need the case to be made by the administration to the American people as to how to best accomplish the objective of preventing Iran from becoming nuclear capable. Why did they abandon the aggressive diplomacy that was successful under the Obama administration?
Gee, I don't know, because it didn't work in the Obama administration. It didn't work in the Biden administration. They developed more weapons. They attacked Israel. I mean, really, Hakeem? You're upset because when Trump called, the administration called you, you didn't answer the phone. Chuck Schumer answered the phone. He knew the bombing was coming, but you're whining about not being, you were called. Pick up the phone when the president calls. Genius. Hakeem Jeffries went on to lie about the Democrats wanting everything to be affordable for Americans. We know that's not true. Democrats currently only care about providing for, illegals. They certainly give them the welcome, Matt, don't they? And smearing Trump's name, by the way, not to mention the Democrats had 4 whole years to make things in America cheaper for working people. But they didn't. Biden, Kamala, Jeffries, and all of the other power-hungry Democrats used their 4 years of power to raise prices in America by nearly 20%. It's not me. It's the Bureau of Labor Statistics that said under Biden, prices for everything went up nearly 20% at one point. Anyway, listen to Hakeem Jeffries' latest baseless lie.
This country is far too expensive for working class Americans, for middle class Americans, for all those who aspire to be part of the middle class. Imagine a country where every single hardworking American taxpayer can afford to live the good life, work hard, play by the rules, have a good paying job, good health care, be able to afford a home, educate your children, go on vacation every now and then, and one day retire with grace and dignity. The good life, the American dream. That is not accessible to everyone. And so I think it will continue to be important for all of us on the Democratic side to address relentlessly the issue of the lack of affordability in this country. Donald Trump promised to lower costs on day one. Costs haven't gone down, they're going up. In fact, the guy is crashing the economy in real time, imposing these reckless Trump tariffs that are going to increase costs by thousands of dollars a year, and he may even drive us toward a recession.
You know, this is why you need to hate. All right, I shouldn't say hate. It's not a nice word. That's why you need to distrust every single politician on the planet, especially Democrats. That man was sitting there spewing some nonsense about prices going up under Trump. Do you understand how ridiculous that is? When Joe Biden took over for Trump, when Trump was ending his first administration, the inflation was 1.4%. 1.4%. Joe Biden drove it up nationally to 9.9%. 5 times, 500% higher. And then as the administration was winding down, Trump is bringing it back. We just had a 2.7% inflation rate. Are you out of your freaking, what is wrong with you? How can you stand there and say under Trump prices are going up? They're not. I'll give you a good example. Oil. The entirety of Joe Biden's presidency, oil was $79 a barrel, average for the whole 4 years. That was it. Trump, $53 a barrel this time, first time. Now, I don't know, 65 right now. That means gas prices are substantially lower. We'll get into why gas prices aren't going down faster, but it certainly isn't Trump's fault. That's other reasons. But please don't stand there and tell us that prices are going up under Trump, because they are absolutely not. And he could stand there and say that with a straight face and keep his mouth shut for 4 years under Biden when they were jacked up the whole time. Democrats aren't even trying to blindside the American people with lies about their empty promises anymore. They're attacking Trump in any way they can, whether that means blatantly insulting Trump or lying about his progress. Democrats like Senator Chris Murphy, one of the worst, or one of his constituents emailed us last week, said, stupid Chris Murphy, simply refused to acknowledge any progress made by this administration. Listen to Chris Murphy.
You know, border crossings are at a record low. Do you give the Trump administration some credit for that? And are you, when you look at those figures, do you think things are moving in the right direction, at least in that regard, Senator?
No, I don't give them credit for that, because border crossings are low because they're violating the law every day.
For anything. Don't you dare give Donald Trump credit for anything. The lower crime rate, the lower inflation rate, the secure border, I don't know, solving conflicts around the world, going to NATO and getting every NATO nation to commit to 5%, tens of billions, if not hundreds of billions of dollars for the security of the whole world. No, don't give him any credit at all, Chris Murphy, because the last guy, your guy, wow, he was awesome, wasn't he? All right, I'm a little worked up. We'll go to break and we'll come back 2.5 minutes with some voicemails. So I went to break because my wife texted me. She watches every show, and she said, your head's going to burst. Your forehead's going to burst or something. So I had to go to break and calm down a little bit. You know what? You never disappoint. You're leaving us fantastic voicemails. Let's get right to them. Mad Dog, what do we got, brother?
Yes, sir.
What's the first one?
We have Lisa from Florida, and she has something to say about freeloaders.
Let's do it.
Hey, Eric. Lisa from Cocoa, Florida. Love your show, and I love Rav. Anywho, maybe you should look into the freeloaders in our country, the baby mama people, the ones that get welfare and sit on their ass and get fat, while those of us paid into the system have to watch them. It's disgusting. Young grifters. I'm tired of freeloaders being more important than hardworking taxpayers who pay into the system. It's disgusting, it's disgraceful, and it needs to be addressed. We have a lot more people working and a lot more families, and it's disgusting. Please address it. Anyway, have a blessed day. Thanks.
She's right. She's right. There are too many people who are grifting, and that's really what DOGE is going to do. It's going to pull people off who are stealing off our system. They're not supposed to be collecting unemployment, Social Security, et cetera. And that's what Trump is doing. It's one of the many wins he's putting up, and yet the left just can't. Great voicemail. Meta, what's next?
We got a little aloha from Hawaii.
Let's do it.
Hey, you guys. Hi. Winona Lee from Honolulu, Hawaii. You guys are doing an awesome job, and I love my President Trump. He is our leader, a great leader. Make America great again. Aloha.
Aloha. Do you do this, right, in Hawaii? Rob Sig, do we do this in Hawaii? Yeah, we do that in Hawaii. They do that in Hawaii. I've never been to Hawaii, but I've never been to Obama's birthplace either, if you know what I'm saying. All right, Mad Dog, what do you got next?
We have Sam from Louisiana, and he talks about their struggling.
Do it.
Eric, I'm Sam McNabb. I'm from Louisiana, and I want to tell you, I love President Trump. I love your show. I'm going to tell you, us on Social Security, I've worked hard all my life, paid top end for Social Security. Hey, we're suffering, brother. They give us $2,000 a month on our Social Security. By the time they get through with insurance, it's $1,600 a month. If we don't work, man, we're suffering, brother. We're suffering. Please spread the word. One's on Social Security. We're not trying to ask for nothing for free. We just want what's ours. You know, we're tired. We're tired, brother. We really are. And we need to take back our country from these Democrats. They're killing us. We're suffering because of it. We want to see them go to jail for what they've done us over the years of treason, stealing all the money. Brother, I tell you, I don't know what to say anymore. We love y'all, okay? Bye-bye.
Awesome comment. I'm sorry you're suffering. And yeah, we are struggling. Americans are struggling. In fact, MTG said that in the big, beautiful bill, she's hoping that there's a provision as a tax credit for folks on Social Security. So it will still be taxed, but you'll have a tax credit coming in. Hope that passes as well. Listen, we get it. I think Trump understands it as well. The longer you can keep a Democrat away from the checkbook in Congress, the better. Mad Dog, next.
This is April from Wisconsin, and she's wondering if the Congress and Senate work for us.
Let's do it.
My name's April. I live in Wisconsin, and I'd like to know if the Congress and the Senate work for us, the American people, then how come they're allowed to vote themselves in their raises when we can't vote our raises in with our employers?
You know, this is a really important concept. Like, where is it? How come they get to decide what they get paid? And also, how much time they get off. Do you realize the part of the reason that this July 4th deadline is probably going to happen with the big, beautiful bill is so these clowns can take literally almost 4 weeks off in the next 8 weeks, maybe even longer. It might be 5 weeks of the next 8 weeks, and they'll be gone for the summer, and they'll go back to whatever they'll go back to district. But they get paid a ton of money. And they don't work a heck of a lot of hours. Not at all. Mad Dog, is it almost time for the one I like, the quarter?
Not just yet. We have
do the quarter now. Let's do it.
You're going to do the quarter? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Hello, Eric. This is Alex in Florida. And this is something to mention. The quarters, the U.S. quarters, the Washington quarters, used to face, Washington faced, "In God We Trust." Biden or maybe Obama got him facing the other direction. Is there anything that Trump can do about that?
This is a really interesting concept, right? So the gentleman says that the U.S. quarter for the existence of the quarter the president faced in God we trust. So take a look. We went to Snopes, no less, which is a very left-leaning site that fact-checks conservatives all the time. And sure enough, look at that. Up until 2021 minting, Washington faced in God we trust, right there, right? But look what happened in 2022. And Snopes